Hi, welcome back. Today we'll be covering inventory system. Mostly I think we'll be going into Miro and showcasing the whole flow of the crafting system. I've captured them down so that in the future if I need to debug, I don't have to refresh myself and relearn how the inventory system and the crafting system has been built. And I can easily debug it just by reading kind of like notes for my future self. I think my future self will thank me a lot. Yeah, and interestingly today I also want to kind of share like maybe quite a major pitfall of using AI because I've been trying to use the using the AI to build like a crafting system, but I later realized that I've been trying for a couple of times. It just couldn't succeed. It maybe it built like a foundation of what I need for the crafting system, but none of the systems spoke to each other. Like I think it built probably like 50-60% of what I needed. None of that was working. I think later on we can maybe expand further as well when I mirror so that you have like a more context. So I basically had to backtrack a good 30%, kept only like 30% of what was built, and then build the remaining 70% until I have a full crafting system. So I guess it's a great story to tell as well because you know, in this day and age where AI is everywhere, the common thought of using AI is like it's a silver bullet. Like I mentioned it in previous videos as well. One would think it's like a one-click button, or you're using AI, so you know you click it and then no effort done. No, it's actually not. Like there is a lot of things that requires your background knowledge, your experience. It's just helping you to do things faster, but it doesn't completely remove you because it cannot remove you. It cannot replace your position. In this case, it was like a perfect one, like where we as humans needs to step in and build the crafting system myself. I did kind of debug. I did find a few bugs as well, and I managed to debug it because it's again built by my past experience, and then yeah, just again the whole flow of the system needs to be quite fluent, and for me to be familiar with it to debug in the future. Yeah, which is why I kind of built the whole Miro part to organize those. Coming back to Unreal, just to showcase as well, like what we have as of now. We have the inventory systems as we see, and then you will realize that there is also a new panel here which is under crafting, right? So it is ready to go. We will touch on those later as well. These icons are fully illustrated by myself, and just to kind of showcase what I have in mind. There's still a couple of features that I want and that's kind of like additional layer that I want to build on top. But for now, the basic crafting system is really working, where I can say which weapon I want to craft. It takes away the inventory. I'm gonna show you, but for now let's backtrack a little bit to showcase the inventory system. So basically, you're going around and just grabbing stuff. This bit is still something that I want to streamline, which is the whole pickup system is not very conducive. I want it to be more like as you're approaching, when you look at it, the interact icon comes up, and then you can pretty much grab it. You don't have to go back and forth like I'm doing right now, right? So I think that's the next improvement, quite a major shift in terms of the system setup. It's not something that I've not built before, so I'm not too worried about that. Crafting system and the inventory system is much larger tasks. So yeah, basically I just want to showcase right now I'm just grabbing everything I can, assuming like we're going to different parts of the level, and then we are seeing like juicy loots that we want to grab. There's a bug there where I couldn't grab it, so I just going back and forth would help. Okay, alright, so right now let's look at the crafting system. Right, so we have the usual, the inventory system, as we've covered it the last time. You can just reorganize this because all these are weapons. You can use them to kill zombies, right? They are not exactly crafting, and then the rest are crafting items, right? And in the last video I did share as well, these craftings are not kind of random stuff. Like they do contribute something to gameplay. So right now, as you can see, like my health is half. Let's recover it so that I will consume twice. The inventory system is there. Let's also grab the some attire so that we can put them on. Right now the mannequin doesn't change, but again, that's something for the future. I need to build the characters with the assets so that we can reflect it. So yeah, those will take a little bit more time. These cones on the floor are the shoes. As I mentioned, you know how we did it in the past. We are gonna kind of put things together. Let's organize it like that. All right, so these are the military gear. These ones are the right. So yeah, now we have like remaining. We have 4 categories. These are the costumes. These are the weapons. These are consumables. In fact, this is also consumable, but it's also part of the crafting item. And the crafting that we are seeing, I can jump to the ingredients as well. Like that's for later. But for now, let's try to build this first item. This is a smoke bomb, and the smoke bomb requires your a jar and a powder. And oh, before that, I forgot. Like, let's load up this ones just to showcase that the inventory system is also working with the equipment system, where we can drop in weapons, and we switch things out. It was switched out, right? So like a female cute little pajamas, or this one, right? You can change this all around. And that works as well. Right, so coming back to the crafting system, the first item requires a jar and the powder. So if I click on it and hold it down, you'll see a percentage bar. That's also part of the system that we are building. Later on in Miro, we'll showcase those as well. I'm guessing today's video is gonna take like 40 minutes as well, so we have time. So this one, I want the player to hold down so that you can commit to the crafting, and then anytime when you're releasing the mouse, which I did, you're abandoning the craft, right? So you don't consume any of the items. So look at these two glass jar and the powder. When I hold it down, when I reach 100%, it becomes 3 and 3. Right, so now this item has been crafted, and you can see that there's 1 at the bottom. Right, so now I can use this weapon for my gameplay. This is the beads, the marbles, and the marbles comes with a 1 jar and one set of marbles here. Right, so if I click on this again, hold down, and then once it consumes, that last set of bubbles is now gone, right? It's completely removed from the inventory system. So this is part of the crafting system that I wanted to have as well. This one, we don't currently have that equipment, so that's we skip that. This is like bubbles. I'm gonna redo the UI anyway, so if it doesn't seem kind of logical to you, it doesn't matter, because I will redo the UI. I've kind of done this too for a while, so I remember the crafting item that is needed. So this is basically to create like soap. So you need like water, glass jar, and soap powder, right? So once we click on this one, all 3 of them has updated from 332 to 221, right? So they have all -1 from it, and then there's 1 here. This one, let's build like a Molotov. The Molotov, you need a glass bottle, rack, and oil, right? So you can pour the oil into the glass bottle, stick a rack on it, and then light up the rack. Like, of course, you need to soak the rack in oil in real life, but for now, you know, this is a game. So I'm just gonna hold down. Look at this 211. When I'm holding down this, and once I commit to it, this has become 1. Right, there were 2 bottles before. Now there's only 1, and then the 2 items that were singular, now it's completely gone. Right, so there are a couple of things that is. I think the health kit requires a rack. So this now starts to drive the gameplay, right? Because when you need higher health regen, or you need certain weapon types, now you need to go to the world and look for those loots, right? And then you can source for those loots, and then craft those items. One thing that I want to add on the side is when you're hovering over the icons, it's gonna show you what recipe you need and which item is missing, right? So that you can go around and look for those items, knowing like, okay, if I want to craft more of this, I need this specific item. Yeah, so this is the crafting system for now, and I think it's quite self-explanatory, like the demo itself. Like so far, thankfully, there's no bug. I did find a handful of bugs, so I want to kind of showcase that as well. So I'm gonna stop the game, and then I'm gonna swing over to Miro here. And this is the crafting system. Then this is the set of nodes that I've mentioned as well. I've been tracking nodes, both built by AI, and then going in to digest what it does, what the things are doing, and they are definitely not something that I'm unfamiliar with. I've seen this before. I'm just taking notes so that I know what the things are, instead of having me going back in the past, in the future, and having to track and rethink how the whole thing is. Like after you don't look at the code for a while, it takes you some time to get back in again. So I'm getting ready for months down the road where I need to come back and debug. I can just look at all these notes I've kind of left for myself, my future self, right? For crafting, let's take a look at crafting. This is the health regen section. This is the craft system, right? So firstly, this is the ingredient part. So there are 10 slots, right? When we go back to this part, and we take a look at this, there's 10 slots here. So there's basically 10 types of weapons or equipment that you can craft, like excluding the first aid box, right? That's not a weapon, but basically you can craft all these things. This can still change in the future as well, so I'm not too married to any of those. And one of the requirements that I told Claude is that I want to make sure I can change all this recipe as I go, right? Let's say if I want to switch one of the weapon out into something else and I want to change its recipe to something else, I can have the flexibility of doing it within the class default blueprint. That was one of the requests. So AI, they built this, and these are all like the remaining 30% that was left, right? Everything else, 70% was me manually building on top of that. So having this class default under third person BP, the AI has basically created 10 slots, including 0. There will be a total of 9. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, total of 10, right? And each one of them has a name, right? And that's all up to me. Like I can name it anything I want, and then I can put in any icon that I want, and then I'll put in the recipes that are needed, and these are the quantity. Let's say I want 2 glass jar instead of 1. I can just pump it here, and the whole system downstream is gonna check against the requirement that is here, right? So if this is true, then it will not be able to craft that item when I don't have enough glass jar. Let's say if I only have 1, right? So this is the area where we can slot in the crafting system. The ingredients for the recipe. Yeah, this one is just mentioning that there is a link between this to slot 0, which links you into this one. This is slot 0, right? So I'm showing you like this is part of the crafting bar inside the event blueprint, and then I basically set up a function. One of the things that AI has done for me was, I'm not sure if it was captured, but it was a massive like 288 nodes all in a single graph, and wires were like all over the place. That's part of working with AI, and I had to do a massive cleanup, which is to convert all of them into individual functions, right? So that I can store them inside there, and I believe this whole thing that we are seeing is part of just slot 0. Maybe I can jump in there to show you guys. So this is the crafting bar. Let me quit the game. Crafting bar is this one. Loading up. Let me adjust the aspect ratio. Let's go to graph. And then yeah, so this is that. And I am in this portion here, which is the refresh crafting bar, and it's calling the third person BP with a player character. And then each of this, if you recall, I was mentioning like how massive the whole node is. Imagine all of this, and then you have 10 of that spreading all across at the bottom here. Like I couldn't even zoom out even further. The nodes were all set up like the whole bunch like that. I had to clean them up into functions, and then organize them into the same format, right? So there are definitely things here that are different. So this is named slot 0. These are called slot 0, and then if you go to slot 1, these are named slot 1. So I can kind of use the same function, but it could be organized in the same way, just that the nodes are mentioned differently. So within each slot, it has you can basically open up each function, and then they are all organized inside it. All these are kept in there. These are built by AI, so I kept most of them in there. I'm so apologizing for like this video is probably gonna be a bit dry. If you guys want like a deep dive in tutorial on like specifically how to do the crafting system, I can make a video out of it. But for now, let's just go a bit faster where I'm mentioning like this is slot 0, right? It's slot 0. So slot 0 output icon, which is this one, is now fed into set slot icon, right? So inside set slot icon, there is this part where it pulls into this variable under the set slot icon, right? So that's under the crafting slot. So this current output here is this item here, right? And what is cool is that when you are in the UI, you can feed this into a bind, right? So like for example, this one, current output icon, yeah, it fed this into current output icon, and then current output icon is fed into this function here, which is get item icon brush. This function is where this is bind together, right? So basically you can see the information flowing from like, okay, if I want to slot in an icon, why this is hyper focused on the icon is because it couldn't get the icon working. Like no matter what I tried, it couldn't show up. And I later realized there was no slot to include icon, and even if I did, it wasn't working. Like the information wasn't fed in. So I had to kind of list this down for myself, but also kind of understanding what the AI has done behind the curtains. Yeah. So this fed into this, and then this into this, and then into this, and then it flows into this, and then this node and this one is the same, right? This is to set, this is to get. And then you get this in, it fits into the return node, and that flies over and get into this, right? So this get item brush, get icon brush is this, right? This is that function. And then basically this item icon is saying that anything that you update here in terms of its image, I will update it here. Yeah, so this function here is to link with that. Right, so the next part is how do you make the click, like when you are let's say like this, right? When you click on it, how do you make the percentage bar increase it, and that's basically getting a percentage bar on top of your icon. And these are also built by AI, but again, it didn't really work. I had to go in and clean it up. He was telling me on contradicting items, and I had to ignore the AI and went in for my own solution. And this is the final output, which is already currently working. Whatever I demoed just now was based on this current structure. So right now there's two events here. One is to detect whether the mouse has really entered the or rather it's called hover, but AI named it enter. Basically the mouse is hovering over the icon. When it is, then you want to change the color. So over here you can see that when it's hovering, it turns yellow. When it's not, you get this kind of like almost grayish icon, right? So that's to detect that. And later on I was asking the AI as well, like how do I change the settings of this slot state index, and it says that, oh, you go to this function. Inside here there is RGB channels to control all the 3 different permutations, and I can just basically change the RGB values to reflect the colors, which I did later as well. So yeah, this whole bunch is just hover and unhover, right? Which I also have print string here for myself to when I was checking. The other one is regarding crafting. So that means when you have a left mouse button click, right? When you click on it, it's supposed to have the percentage bar run, right? And again, the AI did something. It didn't work. Like no matter what I click, nothing happened. I am not sure what actually was done. I think maybe it was also going to C++ and there was some backend coding. I'm not sure what happened, because when I tried to detach everything, it still didn't work. Even though when I put in my own code, not my C++ code, but my visual scripting code, it didn't work. So I was thinking maybe I want to redo the percentage bar, and then it started working again, right? So basically there is something that is coded inside the percentage bar, which is still tied to backend code. Yeah, but basically anyways, coming back to this is that I know that I needed a percentage bar, and it's actually somewhat like a health regen function that I did in the past as well, just that this is more like a percentage percentage bar. So health and percentage are the same thing. In this case, it's applicable. So this is basically the craft percentage, which is the crafting percentage, right? So how much of a percent are you committed to in crafting the items for now? So I built a craft function here, craft percentage function using the delta time, and I did a multiply node, and these two are basically controlling what is the total percentage, right? When it's at one, full value of one, it means 100% for the float. And then this is how much time do you want the player to hold down before the crafting is done. So basically how much speed is the percentage bar moving, right? Let's say if I want 2 seconds for a player to commit in crafting, if it takes so long, maybe I want to drop it down to 1 second, right? So this value can change, but all in all, that needs to multiply with the delta time, which is the current frame rate, but divided into seconds, in fact milliseconds. So this is giving you like a standard increment, no matter how your PC specs are. Like if you have a lower spec, it will have a lower frame rate, but this time 2 seconds or 1.5 seconds will always be 1.5 second in our real world time, right? So it's basically using delta time to help you calculate that. Then it's going to add back to your crafting current percent. So then the number will incrementally increase. So let's say you start off with 1, and then when you add on to 1 again, 1 plus 1 equals 2, and then you add on again 2 plus 1 equals 3. So then the percentage will slowly increase, right, until you reach 100%. That's how it works. Over here is just a print string to get that idea. But anyways, coming back to this crafting current percentage, this is that bar, right? However, I realized when I had this running, just by a pure, let's say this one, start craft, I was running like, how did it work? Why didn't it work? It's because when you click on this event, it's only a one-click button. That means you fire a signal once, and then that's it, right? The signal doesn't refresh itself. That means your delta time doesn't really move, like the percentage doesn't increase because it doesn't refresh itself again and again. So when I usually face this problem, then the next solution is event tick, because event tick allows you to tick every frame, and that allows you to have a every frame update, right? But event tick are very, very expensive. Like as much as possible, you shouldn't be using event tick, and when you do, it needs to be gated, right? So in this case, it is gated. So I'm gonna show you how. When I am doing a event tick, which is this one, this is the one that is constantly calculating, firing and firing every single frame. If you have like, let's say 5-6 of this, right, your frame rate is going to drop like dramatically. But for me, I'm still running at about 90 FPS, so it's pretty decent. And I'm very conscious of all these things as well when I'm coding, so I'm making sure I am not overly spending the budget. So this one is just for better presentation or better organization, which is that you can see that this fits into a play percentage bar, and this is actually a custom event. Like over here you can say custom event, and custom event can be created by yourself. Like you don't need like a backend code. You can just right click, type custom event, and this rate node will appear. You can name it however you want. For my case, I say play percentage bar, and what this does is allow you to kind of channel the tick. Imagine there is a constant flow of tick going into play percentage bar, but instead of it just stopping here, it channels into this one, and then it funnels downstream, right? Why don't I just connect this to here is because usually for event tick you might have multiple of such nodes that requires event tick to update, and you don't want that wire to be going in like many different directions, and it becomes really confusing. So usually what we'll do is I'll do a custom event and then have multiple custom events so that they fire this event tick into multiple locations across your graph, right? So they're all kind of contained within and organized within their own domain. That will be much cleaner to read. So in this case, as I mentioned, it needs to be gated, but how do you gate it? Is to use a branch. A branch meaning, is it true or false? Like, so if it's false, then don't calculate. If it's true, calculate, right? So, but how do you control the true or false? And that's coming back to this one here. When going back to like the analogy or the intent, right? What's the ultimate goal? The ultimate goal is that we want the percentage bar to be constantly, increasing, but we don't want this calculation to be happening when we are not clicking, right? Because as I mentioned, event tech is very expensive. Imagine when you're not clicking, but the system is still registering, oh, you're not clicking, you're not clicking, you're not clicking every single frame. It's pointless, right? We only want to know when I'm clicking. So then that's the only time I need you to calculate. Outside of those moments, then don't click, right? So don't tick anymore. That's how you gate it, right? That is how you stop the performance from deeping. So how, like this true false comes from here, right? These two red nodes. When I start crafting, I put a tick to player clicked craft, meaning the player has clicked on the craft button. And then when the player cancelled craft, meaning the player released the mouse, the tick goes away, right? So that means the player is no longer clicking on the craft. So just by these two conditions, we have a true or false, right? And that comes into this. I can fit this, get this into a branch. Again, if you guys need me to deep dive in this, right, drop in the comments, put the timestamp. I can make a video just to describe it. So coming to this, it goes into condition, meaning like every tick that is passing, when the players click on the mouse, right, which gives you the positive, which is the true, then it fires. It goes down the chain, right? If every time when I'm passing and the player did not click, right, or he has really removed the click, then this becomes false, right? So then the channel comes down here every time. It comes down here. Only when it becomes true, then it goes straight, right? So that's how it works with branch. And then once you have the craft percentage, it goes into this, right? And then it starts calculating all this math that is behind, updating the current percentage, right? And then when the mouse is released again, it goes back to here, which is to set the craft, right? This crafting current percentage, which is the same value here, you see here, but to 0, right? So that's how you can click on it. And then once you release your mouse, you abandon the craft, it jumps back to 0, right? The crafting only happens when you reach 100%. So that's the next gate that we need to cross, and that is this one, right? So only when you have passed or reached 100%, which is the value of 1, then you can proceed with the crafting, right? If not, then you basically abandon, and the percentage bar drops back to 0. That's the intent. Why did I put like 0.99 is because when I'm print stringing here, I realized that the number is not fully 1. And this is again coming from my past experience, is that if you put like equals to 1 and then you realize, wait, I know it's gonna be 1, but how come it didn't reach 1? And why didn't anything fire through? It's because the numbers are not 1, it's 0.999998. Right, it didn't reach 1, but it's very close to 1, and that's usually one of the pitfalls as a junior. When I'm doing visual scripting, I thought it was working, and after multiple, I'm saying, ah, shit, now I know why. Like because it stops at 0.99998, right? And these are basically like small little threshold that you can allow the branch to work, right? So as long as 0.999, I can go through. Right, it doesn't have to be perfectly 1. And this one here as well, I think it's very important. I usually use above or equal to, not equal to, right? Because when you say equal to equal, it must be absolute 1. Right? It cannot be any other value. It must be 1, right? So over here, when I say anything that is more than 0.99, meaning 0.9998 is more than 0.99, right? Then you can pass through, right? So just giving yourself a bit of a threshold, and then once that passes through, we need the craft item, but the craft item falls under the third person BP, right? So we'll do a cast. Cast is also very important, but we're only doing it for once, right? And only that time when it passes, when the player has really committed to crafting, and then we'll shoot out once to craft the item. And then once you release your mouse, the casting stop again, right? So we are really trying to keep the budget low, not to overexpend on the crafting, on the system. Right, so the next part is the crafting, right? So how does the crafting happen? Over here, let me check if there's any notes. This one I want to come back as well, because there is a bug that I found, and I think it will be helpful to learn from that. Okay, so this is crafting. I put a link here. This is Miro, by the way. I'm using Miro, so you can basically add a link. Edit the link, right? You can add a link, and then basically if I click on this, it pops me here, and this brings me to like, okay, you want to see craft items, click on this. It's gonna show you like what is inside craft item. Okay, so coming to craft item, this is under third person BP as we mentioned, right? Which is where we are doing a cast here. Same thing, the AI built like a I don't know how many nodes, probably 400 over nodes within this graph, and I had to organize them into single functions, right? This is that graph after it's been cleaned up already, right? It's very organized, and I can go in one by one to look for certain things. Okay, so crafting is looking for a string. In this case, it's the index, right? Because there's like a whole set of items in there. It's looking for that specific item. And the item is fed in from here, like the recipe index, right? And that's basically if I'm looking at slot 0, I want to look at slot 0's recipe. And then it will come out and look for all the respective like slots. So if it's slot 0, it's gonna go to slot 0 and look for, does it have enough items in there? Can I craft? If it's now looking at slot 3, for example, like let's say we've clicked on slot 3, which is this one, slot 3, this one. It's gonna fire slot 3 into here, and it's gonna say, okay, slot 3, and then I'm gonna feed inside here, right? And then continue looking at inside slot 3. So when we look inside slot 3, this is how it looks like. Let me just bring this up. Yeah, never mind. I think the layering is has gone below, but slot 3 is here, right? And this is to check if slot 3 has enough of its recipe, right? And I did a screenshot here so that it's easier instead of us kind of flying all around the blueprint. This is under third person blueprint class default. I showed you just now. Under slot 3, we can insert the graphic, right, which is the icon, individual items, the name and the quantity, right? And in this case, we don't need the fourth and the fifth item. Some items, they are more expensive. I want player to be going out and scouring for more resources. Then I want to give them like 5 items to craft, and those weapons are usually quite overpowering, OP, right, basically, and it can really tip the balance of gameplay, and I don't want player to have that much of it, right? So I make it more difficult, more challenging to acquire those or craft those items. For this kind of very easy ones, not really harmful, but effective, I kept it down to 2 or 3 items. Okay, so coming back to this, this is basically the graph, like has enough, right? If slot 3 has enough, and over here there is a has enough function. So as you can see, it's almost like a rabbit hole, and this is the usual working with blueprint, because you can dig in and in and in and in, and then it branches off into its own branch and becomes quite confusing as well. So yeah, that's how you're working with blueprint is, and which is why drawing this kind of chart is very conducive, because it makes you understand things quite quickly. Okay, so coming through has enough. We can deep dive into like within this node itself, but for now, all you have to do, be concerned with is checking whether based on the item that you need, which is this item, if you want to build a soap bomb, right? Slot 3 is this one. If you want to build a soap bomb based on index 3, slot 3, do you have the first item, slot 3, ingredient 1, right? Ingredient 1, here writes ingredient 1. Which is this first item, right? Name in this case is glass jar, quantity is 1, right? After you check it, okay, yes, the player has this item and the quantity needed inside its inventory, right? Then let's move on to the next one. Now it's gonna check ingredient 2. Ingredient 2 is gonna be water bottle 1, right? Quantity of 1, and it's gonna call water bottle quantity 1 and check. Does it have enough? Yes. Okay, let's move to item 3, right? So on and so forth. And then once it reaches ingredient 4 and 5, remember we were saying that we don't need area for ingredient 4 and 5, right? Both numbers are shown as 0. One of the issues when I was running the code was that it didn't go through. I keep trying and trying and trying. I realized that when I do a print string here, nothing gets to this print string. And I later realized it's because the conditions are not set according to the AI. It's not set correctly. Like, I mean, the AI built it, and then I realized that it wasn't set correctly, right? And I go in and manually fix it, which is to add an additional condition. In this case, is if you have the criteria that you need, right, which is the ingredients that is needed to craft, or if the integer number that has been shown here is 0, right? 0, 0. It means that slot ingredient 4 and 5 is not needed. Right, so if you have the item that is needed for ingredient 4, or if ingredient 4 is 0, then pass through. Right, you maybe need to backtrack the video again to understand again. Is if it's really filled up by myself, ingredient 4, then check that. If it's not, then use 0 as a passing rule for yourself to go through. Right, so in this case, yes, it's going to go through because it was set as 0. There was nothing set in the item name, right? It was blank. So if it's blank and it's checked, right, and it's invalid, right, it will come out false, right? Which is why we need an additional condition, which is if it's 0 as well, then you can pass through, right? So in this case, 0 0 pass through. It reaches slot 5, right? So 4 and 5, it passes through 0, and then this here is gonna do an item check. This is basically a S-shaped loop. It comes all the way down into here. This is where we start consuming the item. But before that, let's come back to this. This band here, even though it's not a code, but it was a good junction to remind myself that after it has done all these 5 checks, right? All the 5 ingredient that is needed. Does it have the correct item? Does it have the correct quantity? If yes, if all 5 conditions has been met, in this case, all 5 slots has been met, then let's proceed to consuming. If even one item has failed, then the crafting will not happen, right? So meaning if I'm missing a water bottle or a glass jar, then either of this would have failed. Then it wouldn't have reached this stage here, right? Which is why this band here is like a junction to remind, as a human, like even though code-wise it doesn't do anything, as a human it reminds me that I need to make sure that all 5 of these conditions are met. Then once it comes here, it goes into consume. Again, I think there is a separate code, I think. Yeah, maybe not. It's to show how items are consumed. Basically, it has a math that -1 from the selected item name, in this case, and use the quantity and then -1 from there, and then reflect it, right? So that's consume item. And it's going to consume item for the ingredient 1, right? So in this case, glass jar 1 will become glass jar 0, right? Because I've consumed 1 of them. And then the second one is going to go to second, so on and so forth. Right, sorry, my mirror has disconnected. It's back. And then yeah, just basically the same code but repeated for all 5 slots. And then over here it's gonna do an update, right? Because the crafting is done, the deduction has been made, but the UI stays the same, right? It needs to refresh itself for it to show on screen. And then lastly, this one here is to add that number back in, right? So as I've shown, let me swing to the bug area because I have a screenshot of that, is that when I, yeah, here. See, when I commit myself, plus, it goes to 1. Now just repeat again, right? 2. So I basically built twice, right? 1, and then hold it, becomes 2, right? So that array that you see, set array element, that's basically adding the number back into the UI, into the crafting UI here, +1, right? So when I finish completed crafting, when all ingredients and recipes are set, all conditions are met, then I proceed with consuming, I proceed with updating, and then I add 1 to the crafted item, right? In this case, the one that I just showed you. So over here, I think, yes, this is how do I feed the number into the UI. So at the UI, which we see just now, on the bottom right, it has a number showing the crafted item, like how much have we crafted. And this is how you do it, which is feed the 2 crafted item counts, which is this array of items, search by the item name, in this case slot 3, right, which is probably the was it the soap bomb, I think. Let's see, I think it is the soap bomb. Yeah, this one. Oh, it's a smoke bomb. Yeah. So coming back to craft item 3, it will basically feed this number back again, right? It looks for this, and then there is a quantity number, right? So right now, if nothing is crafted, this integer will write 0, right? And then I want to feed that into this location here, 0. But once the whole crafting has been added, you do a +1. This number will now become +1, right? Meaning there's 1 item in there. Feed it into this variable, and this variable is now binded, right? You see, bind to crafted quantity. In this case, binded to this crafted quantity. So when this number updates, this updates as well, right? The UI will update, which gives us again what was shown there. Okay, so coming back to this bug, right? Why it was a bug? it was near the end of the whole process, and I was basically checking and see if there's any bug. I was playing around, and I think one tip with debugging is to make sure like you're always just randomly doing stuff. Don't be doing the same way you did it before. Just be as erratic as possible, so then you will catch unexpected problems. One of them is that I went around and started to pick multiple things, and then I tried to craft them, and I realized that me as a player, I wanted to use the glass jar for something else, but then when I click this and craft, it uses every of the glasses that I have, right? And then it didn't save me for anything else anymore. So as a player, it's really frustrating, and that was a major problem I want to fix, right? And I later realized is that when I'm clicking this, because of how fast the tick is happening, right? Every frame when event tick is happening, it crafted 2 of the items within a split second. Because I have 2 of the jar, like for this smoke bomb, to satisfy that, you just need a powder and a glass jar. And I have 2 of them each, which means I'm able to build 2 of them at one go. But that's not my intent. My intent is to, every time I click one of this, I will only build 1, right? So that I have the chance to decide, do I want to save the glass jar for something else, or do I want to save the glass jar, come back to building this weapon again. If it's this weapon again, I'll just click it one more time, hold it down for 1.5 seconds, commit to it, and then another item is crafted, right? But if I want to use it for the soap, for example, I want to save the glass jar for something else. Now I have the chance to do it, right? Because it's not happening at every single tick. Within split second, I crafted 2 items. So the intent is like that, right? As you can see, this is the fixed version. After I clicked it, 1, and then the item is now 1. Right, and then when I click it again, goes to 2, and then now I completely deplete it. You can see that my mouse moved out and back again. That's me doing the same thing twice, right? So that function, how do I do it, right? Let's swing to this part here. This is where the do once function is added, right? So over here, what happened was that before I had this do once, which you can see here. Yes, here. Right, this is the original function. After we craft it, it shot right straight into branch. When it reaches 100%, right, which is more than 0.99, it goes into crafting. There was no kind of like stop in between. Like I just couldn't stop it. A tick happens like one frame happens, like I was mentioning, I'm running at 90 FPS, so there's 90 frames that passes through at one single click within 1 second, right? So I there's no way I can stop. To like, even if I click once and release, it will be more than 90 frames already, right? So I don't think I can stop the first crafting. That's not how it works, or how coding works. So the only way to put like a stop in there, which I've also learned from the past, is that you use this do once, which is only when I click once. No matter how many times I click later, it will never work. You will only do once. You will only execute once. But the problem with this is that there is a reset button. Right, because after you shot it once, it crafted the first item. The next few times when you click on that button, right, you will never craft anymore. Right, that's how the do once function works. Right, you need to reset it for it to refresh, so that the next time when you click on it again, it's gonna craft again. Right, so that's the trick. And to refresh it, remember we had the cancel craft, meaning like when my mouse is released, meaning I have now successfully crafted or I have abandoned the crafting, then I want this do once to reset, right? So the logic is all there, is just plugging them so that it's coming to use. And again, I'm using a custom event, as I've shared here as well, play percentage bar here. Remember this one that fires, the same thing has been done here, right? So that I don't have wires coming down, it becomes a bit disorganized. So I basically say that when you cancel craft, meaning when your mouse is up, when you're no longer clicking, uncheck this so that this becomes false, right? And then this also resets, right? So this comes in and then resets. So then the next time when you do a start crafting, it fires, and then start crafting becomes positive, right? It becomes true. It fires through and then comes back into here. It goes into do once, which has really been reset, right? Then it's like, okay, you've really reset it. Now it can pass through the gate again, and it will fire through and then go into craft item, right? So that itself helped fix the issue that was there. And yeah, that's basically crafting. Very extensive. We took like a full 43 minutes. It's like almost like a tutorial. I know we're kind of jumping a bit here and there. It's not really a proper sharing, as in it's not a proper tutorial. It's more of a devlog. in fact, it's also for myself to rewatch this in the future, right? So I think if you guys are very interested in having a breakdown on this, I can make a separate video, a little bit more organized, so that we can dive maybe like an hour just to look at the whole crafting system. Okay, that is it. It's 44 minutes, and it's quite extensive. The next video hopefully is less technical. We'll jump back maybe a little bit to more the creative stuff, the world lore, and also some of the systems that I want to put in place. More of game design. This is more coding and visual scripting. Yeah. All right. See you again next time. Thanks for sticking through. Bye bye.